Hi there, my name is Richy Srirachanikorn. I am a sociologist pursuing my master's degree here at Concordia University, working with the Technoculture Arts and Games Research Center, or TAG. My talk today will be Lost Again to be Found, Refractive Nostalgia and Video Games. With over 3 generations of players, Tim Wolf and colleagues call video games a digital time machine to return to a past or an imagined future. During the COVID-19 pandemic, confinement at home with technology meant that, in Katerina Niemeyer's words, even if time passes the same way from a physicist's point of view, some of us no longer have the patience to let our experiences form into what we once called memories. As such, nostalgic video gaming helped people return to an ideal past by remembering favorable pandemic experiences, or by projecting an ideal post-pandemic future by strategically forgetting what is occurring in the present. This is outlined by Wolf and colleagues' studies in 2022 and 2020. Writing on the future of nostalgia, Svetlana Boym thus notes that with universal time loss, there needs to be a privatization of space to use time meaningfully. The same need for a space to digitally nostalgize has led Katerina Niemeyer to coin the term digital nostalgia, or the yearning that is not just for the nostalgic content, but also for the machine and consoles that bring about this nostalgia. Digital nostalgia is therefore not limited to just the magic circle of play or its objects, but can occur even, quote, without the work of memory, unquote, Niemeyer and Keightley, 2020. Since Boym suggests that nostalgia is a, quote, human predicament in the modern world, it is not surprising to observe how the past and the future is constantly a lucrative force in our technoculture. Importantly, the drive behind these nostalgic pursuits is what Boym calls chronophobia, which is not the fear of time itself, but an anxiety of not meaningfully using the time that is constantly depleting. She writes that one is not nostalgic for the past the way it was, but for the past the way it could have been. Video games are therefore ideal mediums that fit this intention to play with the past by creating an in-game past, present, or future. Therefore, if Wolf and colleagues 2018 note that gamers in the medium will mature together, then understanding nostalgia and chronophobia is necessary to make sense of how we play with our past and how this future of playing with chronophobia will look like. In short, if people are using video games to retrieve or remove a, quote, past that was, or what was lost, then I am asking this: what can be found? My answer for now is that we must be lost again, or to play again, but to ensure that the nostalgizing is generative by being social, creative, and personal, rather than the lucrative forms of nostalgia that dominate the ways we nostalgize with video games. The generative potential of nostalgizing with video games rests in the practice of what I will call refractive nostalgia. In this presentation, I will review Boym's 3 kinds of nostalgias and how they are related to our dealings with chronophobia through video games right now. Their limitations will each be discussed before accumulating into refractive nostalgia of being lost again to be found. Firstly, reflective nostalgia is the realization that achieving a past that was is not possible. Obviously, this realization is not fun. In fact, it is rather sad. And so whilst Boym notes that we don't need a computer to get access to the virtualities of our imagination, because, quote, reflective nostalgia has the capacity to awaken multiple planes of consciousness, end quote, Mackay argues that, quote, computer gaming is suffused with a longing for pasts that never were but might have been, unquote. Especially with Niemeyer's digital nostalgia, that is not just being nostalgic for media content, but the machines that actualize them, living in today's technoculture means that everyone faces digital nostalgia. And for those who may want a fun solution to their reflective realization, they must play with the past. In Braid, the character starts at level 2 and works their way to the final stage, the beginning. At the climax, it was revealed that you were the antagonist all along. The platform dividing the player and the princess was not a quest of 2 lovers platforming to find each other, but a woman who is running away from the player. As such, Mackay examples Braid as a form of reparatory nostalgia, or, quote, the ultimate nostalgia of returning to the beginning before things went wrong, unquote. This is equated to a reflective nostalgic trying to right the wrongs or to retrieve what they have forever lost. However, if one deals with chronophobia through reparatory nostalgia by trying to play back what was lost at time, nothing will be found. Akin to the surprising climax in Braid, or the sudden remembering of something which will no longer return or now exist forever as a regret, Mackay concludes that, quote, some things cannot be fixed by turning back the clock, unquote. As such, the other solution may not be to play back what was lost at time, but to play with the time that was lost. Nostalgia, writes Boehm, is an ache of temporal distance and displacement. To combat this, her second form of restorative nostalgia, quote, takes care of both of these symptoms, unquote, by offering the availability of a desired object that is crafted and sold by a collective memory. Collective here means that the path to this imagined past or future does not belong to the individual. And as such, it saves the hurt reflective nostalgic the pain of remembering that, quote, the problem with prefabricated nostalgia is that it does not help us to deal with the future. You just sulk in the past, basically. So, for example, one may desire to return to the past the way it was for their French ancestors who lived near the Notre Dame by nostalgizing with the replica in Assassin's Creed Unity. Conversely, one may yearn for a future so tangible that it is a past that could have been of France at war with the evil capitalist America. Notice how these restorative nostalgias are indeed replication of real-world places, but importantly, that is all they are, restorations. Future nostalgic French players of Modern Warfare 3 may fight and immerse themselves towards a future present, but the outcome is always the same. The Eiffel Tower falls. More notably, the 2019 fire incident at the Notre Dame, players were hopeful that the Assassin's Creed Unity counterpart would serve the reconstruction project. Alas, this was not possible because the internal structure of the digital church was not modeled for the church past the way it was, but for the past church the way it could have been for players to rappel, climb, and hide around. Simply put, these were two different structures all along. As such, restorative solutions fail the nostalgic looking for a remedy to chronophobia because its promise to a past or future, whilst successful, is to a place that the individual never even existed or remembered. In short, it is to take comfort in the memory house of someone else and try to call it your home. Yet in popular culture, restorative nostalgia has become a big problem because of its lucrative nature. Lego and Minecraft sets, resold to its now older clientele, subscription services, or even Facebook pages profiting off nostalgic content, has led to the uncontrollable purchasing of hungry nostalgics. For Niemeyer and Kitely in 2020, a Facebook page operating on restorative nostalgia saw its commenters arguing and rating the quality of the nostalgia posted, but also each other. Who and what is good, bad, fake, or real nostalgia? Thus, restorative nostalgics, or lost again in the void of temporary and pricey memory bandages, politically false promises of making things great again, and internet arguments. As such, we need a nostalgia that keeps the personal, the social, and the creative, the latter of which was Boehm's parting gift. Quote, it reveals the fantasies of the age, and it is in those fantasies and potentialities that the future is born, unquote. Notice here how the future is not born, or is born, but not brought here, or worse, bought at a price. My suggestion of refractive nostalgia emphasizes the retaining of the three that endures the changes of nostalgizing, the emotional, psychological, and whatnot. Take, for example, the project that Bart Simon and Darren Worschler at Concordia University are working on now, the allegorical build. Using Minecraft, the most popular video game of all time, the professors assigned their class readings on modernity, nostalgia, and colonialism, ideological pasts that still haunt our present and futures, according to Marx. Then, by playing a modded version of Minecraft, where a survival game includes pollution blocks, industrial machines, and contemporary technology, students are no longer just playing a game and learning about modernity through readings. They are doing what Simon and Worschler calls refamiliarization through Minecraft and the readings, both at once and together. Because the journey to relearn how to play modded Minecraft, or for some students, how to play Minecraft at all, and to understand how the readings are relevant today, the student player has to dive into their own nostalgic conceptions of these experiences with a past that is their own, that is personal. Similar to Niemeyer's concept of digital nostalgia, the student player dove into their personal interpretations and critique of modernity, rather the content, or they drew upon their own personal experiences of Minecraft on iOS, Xbox, PC, the machine, or lack thereof. As such, the past that was played or interpreted is no longer what could have been, but what is becoming right now. Next, the social aspect of refractive nostalgia is engaged when the student players negotiated how the deforestation of lands, the massacre of mobs and animals, and the exploitation of resource machines, or just how one plays Minecraft. Through developing and sharing an allegory, student players were able to realize the ideological roots of how they played and what was always at play. Just as boy gamers worked for in-game items to rank up and dominate, whilst game girls used it to master the cultural capital, Hada and Durbay, 2016, this dialogue is therefore a reflexive investigation of how one nostalgizes from a collective memory of how and what makes play, just as Facebook commenters of Niemeyer and Keightley's study in 2020 ferociously defended their restore ideas of what and who embodies a good nostalgia. Finally, creative nostalgia comes into play because nostalgizing personally and socially about things that could be but are no longer, or being lost again, means that one has to find the meaning in nostalgia themselves. Whilst Minecraft is a game made up of blocks, the moment in which a player arrives to create new world, there is arguably nothing left to create. Occupied villagers in their homes, animal herds living in their established biomes, and cave systems housing mobs are already there. They're built already. As such, to play towards a game past that was, for the restorative nostalgics, is to not press play at all. By spawning in, the world is already changed and subject to change, or a creeper coming up to exploit the player and taking the dirt away from the spawn. As such, even for sandbox video games like Minecraft, one has to play towards something. Simon Worschler therefore notes that Minecraft is not a game about static blocks or what is already there, but what could become using the grids, or what makes the blocks what they are. In the context of this presentation, that is both our nostalgia of things and the ability to nostalgize. Although I am highlighting just Minecraft as an example, I have discussed refractive nostalgia with Club Penguin and Fallout 4 in a paper currently under review. The point is this, however, that video games as a digital time machine per Wolf and Colleagues, 2018, are capable of being used to curate a nostalgia that does not need to start and finish with the individual. The personal ensures that the individual memory is respected. The social creates a generative interrogation of collective memory that can repel any temptations of restorative nostalgia, whilst the creative reveals the fantasies of the person then and now, and it is in those fantasies and potentialities that their future is born. If this is applied to video games, where what is lost again can still be found in our real world, Fallout 4's nuclear wasteland, where a non-apocalyptic present day is forever the in-game past, or BioShock's Rapture underwater city in its present that may very well be our future if sea levels and temperatures continue to rise. What these games can do is not only get its players to realize what was lost, but to be lost again to find something generative. The reflexive hope that we don't only have to play with change, but that change is already at play. Things are always happening, evolving, and dying anyway. It is up to us in how we play towards the future by how and what we use from our past. Refractive nostalgia, with its personal, social, and creative components, should therefore ensure that we won't only be talking about the future of nostalgia, when it perhaps may be too late to nostalgize about a better time, but to use nostalgia for the future. For now, then hopefully forever. That was my presentation. Thank you very much for listening, and I would love to take your questions at the Q&A. Thank you very much.